The rain came down hard that October afternoon in Cedar Falls, Oregon. Not the gentle mist that usually rolled in from the Pacific, but sheets of water driven sideways by wind that rattled the windows and turned the streets into rivers. The kind of rain that made people run for cover, that sent smart folks home early to warm fires and hot coffee. Harlan Brennan didn't run. He never had. At 48 years old, 6'3" and 230 pounds of muscle and scar tissue, Harlan stood in the parking lot of the Hells Angels clubhouse and let the rain soak through his leather jacket. His gray-streaked hair hung loose past his shoulders, plastered to his face. Water ran down the lines around his eyes, lines earned from 2 decades of squinting into highway wind and 10 more years before that of things he tried not to remember. His Harley sat behind him, engine ticking as it cooled. He'd been riding for hours, nowhere in particular. Just riding because it was better than sitting in his empty cabin thinking about Sarah. 2 years gone, and some days the silence still felt like drowning. The clubhouse door was 10 feet away. Warmth, brothers, beer, the familiar comfort of men who understood that some things didn't need talking about. He was reaching for the door when he heard it. A voice, small and cracked and desperate. "Mister, please, mister." Harlan turned. What he saw would change everything. A child stood in the rain 20 feet away. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, maybe younger. Hard to tell with the way her clothes hung on her frame, like she was made of nothing but bones and desperation. Her pink dress had probably been pretty once. Now it was the color of old dishwater, torn at the hem, soaked through. But it was her feet that hit him first. Bare feet on gravel and broken glass, black with grime, bleeding from cuts he could see even through the rain. Her strawberry blonde hair was matted into impossible tangles. Her face was a map of suffering. Split lips still bleeding, bruise on her left cheek turning purple, more bruises on her stick-thin arms. She clutched something to her chest. A sock, filthy and shapeless, barely recognizable as the doll it was supposed to be. And she was shaking, her whole body trembling so hard Harlan could see it from where he stood. Cold, terror, both. Their eyes met. Hers were blue, ancient blue, old beyond measure. Eyes that had seen things no child should ever witness. Eyes that expected rejection, expected pain, expected to be told to get lost like she'd been told 1,000 times before. But she was still standing there, still asking, "Can you be my father?" The words hit Harlan like a physical blow. 22 years in the Hells Angels, former Marine who'd seen combat in the Gulf, survived bar fights and federal raids in rival clubs who wanted him dead, took 2 bullets in Tucson and walked himself to the hospital. Nothing had ever prepared him for this moment, this tiny broken child asking a complete stranger to be her father. He couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. The girl took a step closer. Her voice came out in a desperate rush. "Please, mister, I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. I won't eat much. I can clean. I cleaned at my foster houses. I know how to be quiet. I won't make any trouble." Her voice cracked. "Just please don't let the bad men take me." Something inside Harlan's chest split wide open. Something he'd locked away when Sarah died. Something he thought was gone forever. "What bad men?" His voice came out rougher than he intended. The girl flinched but didn't run. "The van men. They took my friend Ash. They said they were coming back tonight." Tears mixed with rain on her face. "They said little girls like me fetch good prices." Harlan's blood went ice cold. Human trafficking. Here. In his town. Hunting children. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Ruby Mae Sullivan." She said it like she'd practiced, like she was trying to sound official. "I'm 6 years old. I can read a little. I'm not stupid, even though some people say foster kids are stupid." "Nobody's calling you stupid, Ruby." He crouched down slowly, making himself smaller, less threatening. "How long since you ate?" Her eyes dropped. "I don't know, 2 days maybe. Miss Rosa at the diner usually leaves food, but she didn't come." 2 days. 6 years old and hadn't eaten in 2 days. Harlan made a decision. The kind of decision that changes lives. The kind you don't think about because thinking would mean hesitation, and this child had no time for hesitation. "Come inside, Ruby. You'll be safe here." Her eyes went huge. Really? You mean it? I mean it. You promise. That word again. Promise. Weighted with every broken promise this child had ever received. I promise. He stood and held out his hand. She stared at it like she'd never seen anyone offer her kindness before. Like trust was a language she'd forgotten how to speak. Then slowly, so slowly, she reached out. Her hand disappeared in his. Tiny, freezing, trembling. He could feel every bone, feel her pulse racing with fear and hope and desperation. I got you, Ruby. You're safe now. The clubhouse door opened and warmth poured out along with the sound of voices and classic rock. Harlan led Ruby inside his hand, never leaving hers. The main room fell silent. Hammer stood at the bar, 6'4" and 260 pounds of intimidation. Tattoos covered every visible inch of skin. His beard reached his chest. He wore his Hell's Angels cut over a black t-shirt and looked like something out of a nightmare. Ruby pressed against Harlan's leg and whimpered. Easy, brother, Harlan said quietly. She's scared enough. Hammer's face transformed. The hard lines softened. His eyes, usually cold and assessing, filled with something that looked like pain. Jesus Christ, he breathed. Iron, who is this? Ruby, she needs help. Wrench appeared from the back room. 54-year-old grandfather of 6 with hands like weathered leather and eyes that had seen too much. He took one look at Ruby and his expression crumpled. Oh, little one, he said softly. What happened to you? Ruby didn't answer, just stood there shaking, pressed against Harlan's leg like she was trying to disappear into his shadow. You hungry, Ruby? Wrench asked, crouching down with a grunt. His knees popped. I can make you something. You like grilled cheese? Ruby nodded, barely. How about chocolate milk? Her eyes widened. I never had chocolate milk. The 3 men exchanged looks. The weight of that sentence hung in the air like smoke. 6 years old, never had chocolate milk. Well, Wrench said, his voice rougher than before. Today you're going to have some. Best chocolate milk you ever tasted. But I never tasted it before, so I don't know if it's best, Ruby said seriously. Despite everything, Harlan almost smiled. Smart kid, literal, trying to make sense of a world that had never made sense to her. Wrench moved to the kitchen area. Hammer grabbed a jacket from a chair and draped it over Ruby's shoulders. It swallowed her completely, but it was warm and dry. Let's get you somewhere you can sit, little princess, Hammer said, his voice gentler than Harlan had ever heard it. They settled Ruby in a corner booth. She sat perfectly still, hands folded on the table, waiting. Like she'd learned that good behavior meant survival. Wrench brought the grilled cheese and chocolate milk. Set them in front of her carefully. Ruby stared at the food like it might be a trap. Like good things always came with a price. It's yours, sweetheart, Harlan said, sliding into the booth across from her. You can eat it. She picked up the sandwich, took a tiny bite, then another. Then she was eating like a starving animal, cramming food into her mouth so fast she barely chewed. Slow down, Ruby. Nobody's taking it away. But she couldn't slow down. Didn't believe it wouldn't disappear. Didn't believe in good things that lasted. When she'd finished half the sandwich and most of the milk, she finally slowed. Looked up at Harlan with chocolate on her upper lip. Thank you. You're welcome. She set the sandwich down carefully. Can I save the rest for later? You can have more if you want. We got plenty of food here. Ruby's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? She started crying then. Not loud, just silent tears streaming down her dirty face while she ate the rest of her sandwich in small, careful bites. Harlan felt something in his chest crack wider. This child, this broken, brave, impossible child. When she finished eating, he knew it was time. Ruby, I need you to tell me everything about the bad men, about what happened to you. Can you do that? She nodded and she told her story. Her mother Claire died when Ruby was 3. Something wrong with her brain, the doctor said. Went to sleep one night and didn't wake up. Ruby remembered finding her, remembered screaming, remembered strangers coming and taking her away. No father, no family, into the system. 6 foster homes in 3 years, each one a different kind of nightmare. First home, too many kids, not enough food. She learned to steal from the kitchen at night. Second home, foster parents fought. Through things. Ruby hid in closets. Third, the dad drank, got mean when he drank. Ruby learned to be invisible. Fourth and fifth blurred together. Houses that smelled wrong. People who looked at her like she was a problem to solve. Kids who bullied her. Adults who didn't care. Then the sixth home, Gerald Sutton's house. Ruby's voice got quieter when she talked about it. He seemed nice at first, said I was special. But then he started touching my hair strange, and he'd come into my room at night, just stand there watching me sleep. His eyes were wrong. Harlan's hands clenched into fists under the table. He said I was his special girl, said we had secrets. I didn't understand, but I knew it was bad. I knew I had to leave. She ran away 3 months ago, lived behind the Sunshine Diner, where a woman named Miss Rosa sometimes left food for the homeless kids. That's where she met Ash. Asher Cross, he's 10, but he acts older. Been on the streets for 4 years. Ruby's face brightened talking about him. He taught me everything. Where to find food that won't make you sick. How to know which dumpsters are safe. Where to sleep so the rain doesn't get you. Which cops are mean and which might help. Her voice softened. He said we were family now, because neither of us had real families. Hammer had pulled up a chair. Wrench stood nearby, both men listening with expressions carved from stone. What happened to Ash? Harlan asked. Ruby's face crumpled. The van men took him. For the past 3 months, a white van had been appearing in their area. 2 men at first claiming to be from a church, offering food and help to homeless kids. Kids started disappearing. Maria, 12 years old, went with them for new clothes, never came back. Then Lucy, 8 years old, then Dylan, 9. Ash said something was wrong, said churches don't work like that. But some kids went anyway because they were hungry and scared. 3 nights ago, Ash and Ruby were sleeping behind the diner when the van came. But this time there were 4 men, not 2. They grabbed Ash. Ruby was hiding behind the dumpster. Ash saw her, made eye contact, and didn't say a word. Let them take him without telling them she was there. He saved me, Ruby whispered. He let them take him so they wouldn't find me. The last thing she heard before the van drove away was Ash yelling at her to run, to find the bikers, that the bikers scared everyone, even monsters. Ruby stayed hidden until dawn. Then she ran. Yesterday afternoon, 2 of the van men spotted her, chased her through alleys. She squeezed through a chain-link fence they couldn't fit through. One of them yelled after her, "We'll be back tonight, little girl. Pretty girls like you fetch very good prices." Ruby knew she had hours, maybe less, so she came here, to the one place Ash said might help. When she finished talking, the clubhouse was silent, except for the rain hammering on the roof. Hammer's knuckles were white where his hands gripped the chair. Wrench had tears running down his weathered face. Neither man was ashamed. Harlan looked at this 6-year-old child who'd survived more than most adults could imagine, who'd found the courage to walk up to a stranger and ask for protection. Ruby, you did the right thing coming here. Nobody's going to hurt you now. You understand, you promise, I promise. She searched his face. Ash said promises don't mean anything. Said grown-ups make promises all the time and break them. Ash was right about most grown-ups, but when I make a promise, I keep it. Always. Ruby wanted to believe. He could see it in her eyes, the desperate hope fighting against years of disappointment. I need to make some phone calls, Harlan said. Talk to my friends about how we can help you find Ash and stop these bad men. Will you be okay here with Wrench for a few minutes? Panic flooded her face. You're leaving. Just to the next room, right through that door. I'll be gone 5 minutes, that's all. You promise you'll come back. I promise. She looked at Wrench. He nodded gently. Okay, Ruby whispered. Harlan stood and walked to the back office, closed the door, pulled out his phone. He dialed Bear's number, their chapter president, the man who'd pulled Harlan into the Angels 22 years ago. The closest thing to a father Harlan had ever known. 2 rings. Yeah. Bear, it's Iron. We got a situation. What kind of situation? There's a 6-year-old girl in the clubhouse, homeless. Someone's been snatching kids off the streets. Human trafficking from the sound of it. They took her friend. They're coming for her tonight. Silence on the line. Bear processing. Thinking. You sure about this? The kid's got bruises, hasn't eaten in days, and just described a trafficking operation that matches reports of missing kids across 3 counties. Yeah, I'm sure. Where'd she come from? She walked up to me in the parking lot and asked if I could be her father. More silence. She what? You heard me? She's 6 years old, Bear. Been in 6 foster homes. Last one was abusing her. She's been living on the streets for 3 months. And she walked up to me in the rain and asked if I could be her father. Bear let out a long breath. Jesus, Iron. I know. What do you want to do about it? Harlan thought about the question, about all the times he'd been asked what he wanted to do. Usually it involved violence or money or club business, things that fit neatly into the world they operated in. This was different. I want to keep her safe. I want to find the bastards who've been taking kids and make sure they never take another one. And I want to find her friend Ash and bring him home. That's a tall order. I know. You thinking about taking her in? Harlan hadn't let himself think it explicitly until that moment. But now that the question was out there, the answer came immediately. Yeah, I am. You know that's complicated as hell. Your record, the lifestyle. CPS won't make it easy. I know. You never wanted kids. You told me that yourself after Sarah died. I know that too. Harlan closed his eyes. But this kid showed up on our doorstep asking for a father, Bear. She didn't go to the cops, didn't go to social services, didn't go to a church or a shelter. She came to us, to me. That means something. Bear was quiet for a long moment. I'm calling a church meeting. 1 hour, every brother who can make it. We need to hear this from the girl herself and figure out our next move. Thanks, Bear. And Iron, don't let that kid out of your sight. I won't. He hung up and stood there staring at the phone. Then he walked back to the main room. Ruby was still sitting in the booth exactly where he'd left her. Hadn't moved, hadn't touched anything. Just sat there watching the door with terrified eyes. When she saw Harlan, her whole face changed. Relief flooded her features like sunrise. You came back. Told you I would. I know, but... Her voice got small. People say that. They don't always mean it. Harlan slid into the booth across from her. Ruby, when I say something, I mean it. You understand, when I make a promise, I keep it. Every single time. She nodded slowly, wanting to believe. Good. Now I called my friends. They're coming here. We're going to figure out how to help you. How to find Ash and the other kids they took, and how to stop the bad men from ever hurting anyone again. You can do that, Harlan smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Ruby, did you know what the Hells Angels are? Ash said you're the scariest people in town, but he said even the police are scared of you sometimes. Ash was right. We've been around a long time, dealt with a lot of bad people. The men who took Ash, the men who are coming for you, they think they're scary. They think they're powerful. They think nobody can touch them. He leaned forward. They've never met us. Within the hour, motorcycles started arriving, one by one at first, then in groups, the rumble of engines becoming a constant thunder outside. 47 Hells Angels filled the clubhouse. Men from 3 counties. Word had spread fast. A child in danger. Trafficking in their territory. Every brother who could ride showed up. They crowded into the chapel room. Ruby sat at the front table between Harlan and Wrench, her small form dwarfed by the massive bikers surrounding her. Bear stood at the head, 58 years old, gray beard, eyes that had seen 20 years of military service and 30 more of life that followed. He commanded respect without asking for it. Brothers, he said, and the room fell silent. We got a situation that needs addressing. This is Ruby. She's got something to tell us. And I want every man here to listen like his life depends on it. Ruby told her story again, slower this time. More details. The men listened without interruption. When she talked about Ash letting himself be taken to protect her, several brothers wiped their eyes and didn't care who saw. When she described the van men chasing her, promising to come back, the temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Ruby to Bear said gently, "You said Ash heard them talking. Can you remember what he told you?" Ruby nodded. He said they needed 8 kids for the big sale. Said the boss wants quality merchandise this time. The room erupted. Angry voices, threats, promises of violence. Bear held up his hand. Silence fell. 8 kids. They're planning a sale. When Saturday night, that's what Ash heard. 2 days from now. Ruby reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. Dirty, torn, but carefully folded. Ash drew this before they took him. Made me memorize it. Said if I ever got help, I should show them this. She unfolded it on the table. It was a child's drawing, but recognizable. Streets, buildings, a warehouse marked with an X. Words in careful printing, where they take us. Blaze, their tech guy, leaned in to examine it. 30-something, covered in circuit board tattoos, genius with computers. This is Industrial District. South Side, I can narrow this down. Bear looked at the room. We've only had 2 days to find that warehouse. Plan a raid. Save 8 kids and burn this operation to the ground. Roar of approval, fists on tables, the rage of men who'd chosen to protect the weak. Blaze, start digging. Find that warehouse. Wrench hammer, I want eyes on the Industrial District. Every abandoned building, every possible location. He turned to Harlan. Iron, you stay with Ruby. Keep her safe. She trusts you. Harlan nodded. As the meeting broke up, brothers filing out to their assigned tasks, Bear pulled Harlan aside. You told her you'd be her father. She asked. What was I supposed to say? You know what you're signing up for. This kid is traumatized. She's got attachment issues, trust issues, nightmares. The legal system is going to fight you every step. Harlan looked through the doorway. Ruby was showing Wrench her sock doll, explaining how her mother had made it. The old biker listened like she was describing priceless treasure. I know what I'm signing up for. You sure about this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Bear clapped his shoulder, hard. Good man. Kid needs someone who won't quit on her. Now get her out of here. Take her somewhere safe. Let us handle the investigation tonight. Harlan walked back to Ruby. She looked up at him with those ancient blue eyes. What's happening? We're going to my place. You'll be safe there while my friends look for Ash. Your place? My cabin. It's quiet, private. Nobody will bother us there. Fear flickered across her face. Being alone with an adult man, every instinct screaming danger. Harlan saw it, understood it. Ruby, I'm never going to hurt you. You hear me? Never. If you want, we can ask Mabel to come. She's Bear's wife. She's really nice. Ruby shook her head. No, I trust you. Those 4 words hit harder than any bullet. They rode to Harlan's cabin through the rain. Ruby on the back of his Harley, her small arms wrapped around his waist, clutching him like a lifeline. He went slow, careful, precious cargo. The cabin sat 10 miles outside town, small, 2 bedrooms, surrounded by pine trees. Private. Ruby stared at it like he'd brought her to a castle. It's so big. It's just a cabin. I've been sleeping under cardboard for 3 months. This is huge. Inside, she touched everything. The couch, the kitchen counter, the lamp, like she couldn't believe it was real. Are you hungry? Harlan asked. I can make spaghetti. It's about the only thing I know how to cook. I can eat spaghetti. You can eat whatever you want, Ruby. This is your home now. Her eyes filled with tears again. For how long? As long as you need it. While the water boiled, Harlan showed her the bathroom. You can take a shower, get cleaned up. There's soap and shampoo. Take as long as you want. Ruby looked terrified. I'll start the water. You get in when you're ready. Lock the door. I'll be right outside. Call me when you're done. Understanding flooded her face. He was giving her privacy, safety, control. She nodded and disappeared into the bathroom. Harlan heard the water start, heard her lock the door, then silence. He went back to making dinner, kept his ears open in case she called. 40 minutes later, the water finally shut off. 10 minutes after that, Ruby emerged wrapped in a towel 3 sizes too big. She looked different. Her hair was actually strawberry blonde under all that dirt. Her skin pale and dotted with freckles. Still painfully thin, but clean. I couldn't find clothes, she said quietly. Harlan grabbed one of his t-shirts from the bedroom. It hung on her like a dress. This'll work for tonight. Tomorrow we'll get you real clothes. Dinner was quiet. Ruby ate 3 helpings of spaghetti. Harlan watched her put away more food than seemed possible for someone her size. After dinner, he showed her the spare bedroom. This is yours now. Ruby stood in the doorway staring at the bed, real sheets, real pillows. I can really sleep here. It's your room. For how long? Ruby, stop asking that. You live here now. This is your home. She climbed onto the bed carefully, tested the mattress, laid down, stared at the ceiling. It's soft. Yeah. I haven't slept in a real bed since before I ran away. Harlan's throat tightened. Well, you're sleeping in one now, every night. He tucked her in awkwardly. Hadn't done this before. Didn't know if he was doing it right. Ruby clutched her sock doll hope against her chest. Harlan, yeah, sweetheart. Can you stay just until I fall asleep? He pulled a chair next to the bed. Sure. She reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were so small, still cold despite the warm shower. Thank you for not telling me to go away. The words broke something in him. Ruby, I'm glad you came. You hear me? I'm glad you found me. Really, really. She was quiet for a moment, then Harlan. What if I have nightmares? Then I'll be right down the hall. You call for me and I'll come running. Promise. I promise. She fell asleep holding his hand. Harlan sat there in the dark watching her breathe. This child, this impossible, brave, broken child who'd asked him to be her father. His phone buzzed. Text from Blaze. Found something. Checking county records for abandoned warehouses south side. 3 possibilities. Another text from Wrench. Drove past all 3. One has fresh tire tracks. Guards outside. Think we found it. Then Bear. We have the location. Meeting tomorrow 6 a.m. to plan the raid. Harlan looked at Ruby sleeping. So peaceful. For the first time in who knows how long she felt safe enough to really sleep. His phone buzzed again. This time it made his blood run cold. Blaze hacked CPS database, found Ruby's file. Someone flagged it 8 months ago. High-value placement. Photo attached. Document showing Vincent Cross CPS supervisor's signature at bottom. Termination date 2019. Harlan texted back, what does high-value placement mean? Response came fast. Vulnerable, no family, pretty, young, exactly what traffickers target. Iron, she wasn't random. They've been hunting her specifically since she was 3 years old. Harlan looked at Ruby, this sleeping child who thought she'd just been unlucky. They'd marked her, like cattle, waited until she was the right age, placed her with an abuser to break her down, planned to collect her when she ran to the streets. She wasn't unlucky. She was prey. His hands shook with rage. Another text from Blaze. Cross has been doing this for years. At least 37 kids we can confirm. Probably double that. Whole network. Senator involved. Judge signing fake orders. Goes deep, brother. Real deep. Harlan stood, walked to the window, stared out at the rain-soaked pines. Tomorrow they'd plan the raid, find the warehouse, save Ash and the others. But tonight he had a daughter sleeping in the next room. A daughter who'd asked a stranger for protection and trusted him to deliver. He wouldn't let her down. He couldn't. The night passed slowly. Harlan didn't sleep much, sat in the living room monitoring his phone. Updates coming in. At 2 a.m., Blaze sent full dossier on Vincent Cross, former CPS supervisor, fired for irregularities, really fired for flagging vulnerable kids and making them disappear. At 3 a.m., list of connected people. Senator William Garrett, Judge Aaron Blake, dirty cop Sergeant Dale Peters, lawyer Robert Walsh. A whole network protecting the operation. At 4 a.m., confirmation. 8 kids in the warehouse. Sale scheduled Saturday 8 p.m. Buyers coming from 4 states. Ruby woke screaming at 4:30. Harlan was in her room before she'd finished the first cry. She was tangled in sheets, sobbing eyes wide with terror. They're coming, the van men are coming. You're safe, I'm here, nobody's coming for you. He sat on the edge of the bed. She threw herself at him, arms around his neck, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. I dreamed they found me, put me in a cage. Ash was there, but he couldn't help me. It was just a dream. You're safe. I promise. What if they come here? Then they go through me. And Ruby, nobody gets through me. He held her while she cried. First time he'd held anyone since Sarah died. It felt strange, terrifying. Right. Gradually, her sobs quieted, her breathing slowed. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to wake you." "Don't apologize, ever. You have nightmares, you call me. That's what I'm here for." "Really, really, that's what fathers do." She pulled back, looked at his face. "You mean it about being my father?" "I mean it. Even though you just met me, even though." The hardest question, the most honest one, Harlan thought about it. Really thought. Because when you asked me, standing in that rain, something inside me woke up. Something I thought died with my wife. And I realized I'd been waiting for you without knowing it. Ruby's eyes filled with tears. "Nobody ever wanted me before. I want you." "Promise." "I promise." She hugged him again. "I love you, Daddy." The word hit him like lightning. "Daddy, I love you too, sweetheart." Dawn broke gray and cold. They made breakfast together. Eggs and toast. Ruby stood on a chair to help scramble the eggs. "Daddy," she asked, first time using it naturally. "Yeah. When you find Ash, will you still want me, or will I be too much trouble?" He turned off the stove, crouched in front of her. "Ruby Mae Sullivan, listen to me. I'm not keeping you because I feel sorry for you. I'm not helping you because it's the right thing to do. I'm doing this because you're mine. You understand mine, and nothing changes that. Not even if I'm broken. Especially if you're broken. Broken things need fixing, and I'm good at fixing things." She threw her arms around his neck. "Okay, Daddy." They ate breakfast as the sun climbed higher. Normal, domestic, a father and daughter sharing a meal. Harlan's phone buzzed. Bear. "Meeting in 1 hour. Everyone who can ride is coming. This is going to be Big Brother." "How big?" "I called in every marker from every chapter in 3 states. We're going to have 250 bikes by dawn tomorrow." Jesus. "Yeah, the whole Brotherhood is riding for this one. For Ruby, for those kids." Harlan looked at his daughter eating eggs at his kitchen table. "I need to go to this meeting. I'm calling Mabel to stay with Ruby." "Already done. She's on her way." 20 minutes later, Mabel arrived. Bear's wife, 60 years old with kind eyes and the warmth of someone who'd raised 5 kids and helped raise a dozen more. Ruby was nervous until Mabel smiled at her. "Well, hello, sweetheart. I'm Mabel. I hear you like chocolate milk." Ruby nodded shyly. "Me too. How about we make some and you can tell me about your doll?" Just like that, Ruby was okay. Harlan kissed Ruby's forehead. "I'll be back in a few hours. Mabel will stay with you." "Promise, I promise." At the clubhouse, 47 brothers gathered. The core chapter plus volunteers from neighboring counties. More were riding in through the night. Bear laid out the plan. Warehouse located, 8 kids confirmed inside. 15-20 guards. Sale Saturday night, 8 p.m. He pulled up photos. The warehouse. Guard positions. Entry points. "We hit them Saturday dawn, before the sale, before they can move the kids." 3 teams, main force 120 men, front assault, loud, draw attention. Extraction team, 15 men, iron leads, service entrance, get the kids out. Perimeter team, 35 men, seal the exits, nobody leaves. Rest or medical transport, backup. Goal kids out alive, bad guys arrested, evidence preserved. The room erupted in agreement. "But brothers," Bear continued, "we need to understand what we're up against. This isn't just street-level trafficking. This goes high. Senator Garrett, Judge Blake, dirty cops. These people have resources we can't match." Blaze stood, "Which is why I sent everything to the FBI this morning. Agent Kate Morrison, Child Trafficking Unit. She's already building a case." "Good, we save the kids. FBI handles the prosecutions." Harlan stood. "I want to lead extraction because those kids have been through hell. They're going to be terrified. We need to be gentle. Fast, but gentle." Bear nodded. "That's why you're leading it." The meeting continued for hours, every detail planned, every contingency covered. As it broke up, Agent Kate Morrison arrived. Professional, 42, compassionate eyes but steel underneath. "Mr. Brennan, I'm Agent Morrison. I need to speak with you about Ruby." Harlan's stomach dropped. "What about her?" "Legally, she's still ward of Gerald Sutton. Until we arrest him and prove abuse, you're technically holding her unlawfully." "I'm not giving her back." I'm not asking you to. Kate's voice softened. I can authorize emergency protective placement. 72 hours. That gives you legal cover while we build the case. And after 72 hours, we fight in court. But Mr. Brennan, I need you to understand. Your record, the lifestyle, this situation, CPS is going to fight you hard on this. Let them. Kate studied him. You really care about her. She's my daughter. After one day, after one question. Harlan met her eyes. She asked me to be her father, standing in the rain, bleeding and scared and desperate. And I said yes. That makes her mine. Kate nodded slowly. I'll do what I can. As she was leaving, an expensive sedan pulled up. A man in a suit stepped out. 50s, cold eyes. Lawyer written all over him. Agent Morrison, what a surprise. Walsh, what are you doing here? Representing concerned parties regarding Ruby Sullivan's unlawful removal from legal custody. Harlan stepped forward. Get off our property. Walsh ignored him. Ruby is ward of Gerald Sutton. You're harboring her illegally. I'm filing emergency motion Monday morning. She'll be removed. Kate, you can't be serious. Deadly serious. Mr. Brennan is a convicted felon, member of a criminal organization, completely unsuitable to care for a child. Harlan took a step forward, threatening. You work for Garrett, don't you, the senator? He sent you to shut this down. Walsh didn't flinch. I represent legitimate concerns. Monday morning, 9 a.m. courthouse. Bring the child or federal marshals will retrieve her. He handed Harlan papers and left. Harlan looked at Kate. Can they do this? Unfortunately, yes, but we'll fight it. I'll get federal prosecutors involved. That evening, Harlan returned to the cabin. Ruby ran to him the second he walked in. You came back. Told you I would. I know, but I was still scared. He picked her up. She wrapped her legs around his waist, arms around his neck. Ruby, some bad people might try to take you away from me. Lawyers, judges. They're going to say I can't take care of you. Fear flooded her face. No, I don't want to go. And you're not going, but we're going to have to fight. In court. You'll have to tell them what happened, what Mr. Sutton did. Can you be brave? She nodded against his shoulder. If you're there, I can be brave. I'll be there, every second. They had dinner, more spaghetti. Ruby liked routine. After dinner, she asked, Daddy, tell me about your wife. It was the first time he'd wanted to talk about Sarah in 2 years. Her name was Sarah. She was small, about this tall. He held his hand to his chest, but she was fierce, didn't take any of my nonsense. Did she want kids? His throat tightened. Yeah, we tried, but then she got sick. I'm sorry she died. Me too, sweetheart. Do you think she would have liked me? Harlan's eyes burned. She would have loved you. That night, tucking Ruby in, she gave him her sock doll. Hope keeps me safe. Tomorrow you're going to fight the bad men. You should take her. Ruby, this is yours. I'm safe here with Mabel. You need protection more than me. Take her. He took the filthy sock doll, felt the weight of it, the trust. I'll keep her safe, and then I'll bring her back. Promise, promise. She fell asleep smiling. At 3 a.m., Harlan's phone rang. Blaze. We got a problem. Big problem. What? Cross knows we're coming. Dirty cop tipped him off. He moved the sale up. Not Saturday night. Saturday morning. 5 a.m. The buyers are already there. How long do we have? If we don't hit them in the next few hours, those kids disappear forever. Harlan's blood turned to ice. I'll call Bear. He did. Bear answered on first ring. I heard, we ride now. Every brother who's here. Can't wait for the others. How many do we have? 250. They've been arriving all night. We're loaded for war iron. This is it. Harlan looked toward Ruby's room. She was sleeping. Safe. Trusting him to come back. He touched his pocket. Her sock doll Hope was there. I'm on my way. The clubhouse parking lot was a sea of motorcycles. 250 Hells Angels from 3 states. Armed, ready, waiting. Bear stood on the steps. Brothers, we ride for those children. We ride for justice. We ride because nobody else will. They think we're criminals. Let them. Tonight we're warriors, protectors, and anyone who hurts a child answers to all of us. The roar of approval shook the building. Engines started, 250 motorcycles. Thunder in the pre-dawn darkness. Harlan swung onto his bike, felt Ruby's doll against his heart. "I'm coming back, Princess. I promised." But Bear raised his fist. Ride! 250 bikes exploded forward into the darkness, racing toward the warehouse, racing toward war, racing to save 8 children who had no one else. The industrial district loomed ahead. Abandoned buildings, broken streetlights. The warehouse lit up like a beacon. White vans in the parking lot, guards outside. This was it. Harlan thought of Ruby sleeping, of Ash in a cage, of 7 other children waiting to be sold like merchandise. No more waiting, no more hiding. The thunder was coming, and God help anyone who stood in their way. The convoy moved through darkness like a living thing. 250 motorcycles, thunder rolling across sleeping streets. The sound alone was enough to wake the dead. Harlan rode in the third wave, positioned with the extraction team. 15 men, we volunteers, all former military or law enforcement. Men who knew how to move fast and quiet when it mattered. Behind them, the main force. 120 bikers ready to make enough noise to wake the entire city. Draw every guard. Create chaos. And surrounding it all, the perimeter team, 35 men whose only job was making sure nobody escaped. The warehouse district came into view. Abandoned factories, broken windows, streets that hadn't seen legitimate business in a decade. Perfect place to hide things you didn't want found. Perfect place for monsters to work. Bear's voice crackled over the radio. "Main force, you're up in 2 minutes. Extraction perimeter, get into position. We go on my mark." The convoy split, main force heading to the front entrance. Perimeter spreading out to cover every exit. Extraction team cutting engines a quarter mile from the service entrance. Silence. Sudden and complete after all that thunder. Harlan dismounted, checked his gear, felt Ruby's sock doll hope pressed against his heart under his jacket. Her trust, her faith, her belief that he'd come back. He would, no matter what. Wrench moved up beside him. "You ready for this?" "Been ready since that kid asked me to be her father." "Remember the plan. Get in, get the kids, get out. No heroics." "I know. I mean it, Iron. That little girl is waiting for you to come home. Don't make her wait forever." Harlan nodded. "I'm coming back." They moved toward the service entrance. 15 shadows in the pre-dawn darkness. Professional. Practiced. Every man knowing his role. The warehouse loomed ahead. Old meatpacking plant. 3 stories. Brick and steel. Lights on inside despite the hour. Guards visible. 6 outside the main entrance. Armed, alert. Harlan's team reached the service door. Wrench pulled out his lockpicks. Worked in silence while the others covered him. 15 seconds. 30. 45. Click. The door swung open silently. Well-oiled hinges. Someone maintained this place. They slipped inside one at a time, into darkness that smelled of rust and old blood, and something worse, something that made Harlan's skin crawl, the smell of fear, of children who'd been kept here too long. Bear's voice over the radio. "Main force in position. On my mark, 3, 2, 1, go." The world exploded. From the front of the building came the roar of engines and motorcycles crashing through the main entrance. Men shouting. Flashbangs detonating with percussion that shook the walls. Exactly as planned. Every guard in the building would rush toward that chaos. Leave the back relatively undefended. Harlan's team moved deeper into the warehouse. Down a corridor binder. Past offices that hadn't been used in years. Toward the center of the building where intelligence said the children were kept. They took down the first guards silently. Big man armed turning toward the noise from the front. Never saw Hammer coming. 260 pounds of biker hitting him like a freight train. Guard went down hard. Zip ties on wrists and ankles, tapey over mouth. Second guard heard the scuffle. Came running. Blaze intercepted him. Former Marine hand-to-hand specialist. Guard unconscious in 3 seconds. They pushed forward. The sounds of battle from the front grew louder. Gunfire now. Return fire. The crack of weapons echoing through the building. Harlan felt his training kick in. Marine Corps, room clearing, hostage rescue, muscle memory from 2 decades ago taking over. His hand touched Hope in his pocket. Reminder, Ruby waiting, be smart, come home. They reached a heavy steel door, electronic lock, red light glowing. Blaze moved forward, pulled out a device, attached it to the lock panel. 60 seconds, he whispered. From the front of the warehouse, more gunfire, shouting, the chaos of the main force doing their job. 45 seconds, 30. A guard appeared around the corner. Saw them. Reached for his radio. Harlan was on him before he could make a sound. Took him down. Hard. The guard's head cracked against concrete. He went limp. 20 seconds. 15. The sounds of battle intensified. Someone screaming. Orders being shouted. The warehouse was a war zone. 10 seconds. 5. Click. Green light. The door swung open. What Harlan saw next would stay with him until the day he died. 8 metal cages, the kind used for large dogs, lined up against the far wall like merchandise waiting to be shipped. And in each cage a child. The youngest couldn't have been more than one. Little girl with matted brown hair, curled in a ball, not crying, beyond crying, just existing in a space where hope had died. The oldest maybe 12. Boy with dark skin and eyes that had gone empty, staring at nothing, seeing nothing, surviving by not being present. Between them, 6 more children, all filthy, all terrified, some crying silently, some too broken to make sound. And in the cage, second from the end, Ash, 10 years old, sandy brown hair, hollow cheeks, bruises on his arms, but alive. He looked up when the door opened, saw Harlan and the others. His eyes went huge. You're the bikers." Harlan crossed the room in 3 strides, dropped to his knees in front of Ash's cage. "Yeah, kid, we're the bikers. Ruby sent us." Ash started crying, not quiet tears, huge racking sobs that shook his thin frame. "She made it. She really made it. She made it. She's safe. And now we're getting you out." Wrench and the others were already moving, bolt cutters on the cage locks, the snap of metal breaking, doors swinging open. The children didn't move. Too scared, too traumatized. Didn't know if this was rescue or something worse. "Listen to me," Harlan said, raising his voice so all of them could hear. "My name is Harlan. These are my friends. We're here to take you home. All of you. You're safe now." The 5-year-old girl whimpered. "Promise." That word. Ruby had asked him the same thing. "I promise. We're getting you out of here right now." Hammer picked up the little girl like she weighed nothing. She was so small, so fragile. She pressed her face against his massive chest and sobbed. The other children started moving, slowly, carefully, like animals that had been caged so long they'd forgotten how to be free. Ash was the last one out. He stood on shaking legs, looked at Harlan. "Tell Ruby, tell her I knew she could do it, knew she was brave enough. You can tell her yourself. Soon, but right now, we need to move." They got the children to the hallway. 8 kids, 15 men, every biker carrying a child or supporting one who could barely walk. They started back the way they'd come, toward the service entrance, toward freedom. They were halfway there when the lights came on, bright, blinding, industrial floods that turned the corridor into day. Harlan's team froze. From the far end of the corridor, a voice, smooth, educated, cold as winter ice. "Going somewhere." Vincent Cross stood blocking their exit. 50s, gray hair, businessman appearance, expensive suit, and dead eyes, the kind of eyes that looked at children and saw dollar signs. Behind him, 8 armed men, weapons drawn, pointed at the bikers, at the children. Cross smiled, not warm, not human, the smile of a predator that had cornered prey. "Hell's Angels, how dramatic, playing heroes for street trash." Harlan stepped forward, put himself between Cross and the children. His team did the same. A wall of leather and muscle protecting 8 kids who'd already been through too much. "Cross, it's over. FBI has everything, your network, your buyers, Senator Garrett, all of it." Cross laughed, said, sharp, bitter. You think I don't have contingencies right now? Senator Garrett is calling in favors. Your evidence will disappear. Charges will be dropped. By noon, it will be like this never happened. And these children will be back in their cages. The buyers are already here, paid good money. They'll get what they paid for. Ash pressed against Harlan's leg. The other children whimpered. The 5-year-old started crying. Cross gestured with his pistol. Put the children down. Walk away. Maybe I let you live. Harlan felt rage building. The kind that had gotten him in trouble before. The kind that made him dangerous. But he thought of Ruby, of his promise to come home. Thought of these 8 children who needed him to be smart, not angry. You're outnumbered, Cross. 100+ bikers in this building. FBI on the way. You've got nowhere to run. I've got hostages. 8 of them. You really think you'll risk their lives for some misguided sense of justice? The standoff stretched, seconds feeling like hours, then sound of helicopters overhead, rotors beating the air, spotlights stabbing through the warehouse windows. Voice over loudspeaker. FBI, everybody freeze. Cross's face went white. That's impossible. Doors burst open, front and back. Federal agents, dozens, body armor, weapons, moving with precision. Vincent Cross, you're under arrest. Cross's men looked at each other, read the room, dropped their weapons, hands up. Cross himself tried to raise his pistol, tried to get off a shot. Bear's voice from behind him. Don't. Cross spun. Bear stood there. 58 years old, former military, weapon steady in his hand. I said don't. You even think about pointing that gun at those kids, you're a dead man. Cross hesitated, calculations running behind his eyes. Odds, chance, escape routes, all closing. He lowered the gun. Bear shot it out of his hand anyway. Clean shot. The pistol clattered across concrete. Cross screamed, clutching his hand. Federal agents swarmed, handcuffs, rights being read. Cross shouting about lawyers and illegality and how they couldn't do this to him. Agent Kate Morrison appeared. Professional, calm, in charge. Vincent Cross, you're under arrest for human trafficking, child endangerment conspiracy, and about 40 other charges that will keep you in prison for the rest of your life. She looked at Harlan. Kids okay? Scared but alive. Let's get them out of here. Outside, dawn was breaking, pink and gold across the eastern sky. Beautiful, clean, a new day. Ambulances waited, paramedics ready. The 8 children were carried out one by one into the light. Some blinked like they hadn't seen sun in weeks. Some cried. Some were too traumatized to react. Media vans lined the street, cameras rolling. This would be national news within the hour. Harlan watched Ash being loaded into an ambulance. The kid looked back. Tell Ruby I'm okay. Tell her we made it. I will, kid. I will. The ride back to the clubhouse felt surreal. Adrenaline fading, exhaustion setting in. The weight of what they'd done pressing down. They'd saved 8 children, taken down a trafficking network, exposed corruption that went to the state capitol. But Harlan only cared about one thing, getting back to Ruby. The clubhouse parking lot was packed. Brothers who'd been on the raid, brothers who'd provided support, media trying to get interviews. Harlan pushed through it all, into the building, looking for his daughter. He found her in the back room with Mabel, sitting on the couch, waiting, her face pale with worry. She saw him and screamed. Launched herself across the room. You came back, you promised, and you came back. He caught her, lifted her up. She wrapped her legs around his waist, arms around his neck, holding him like she'd never let go. Always, baby. I always keep my promises. Ash, her voice muffled against his shoulder. Safe, hospital. They're checking him over, but he's okay. Ruby pulled back, looked at his face. Really? Really, he wants to see you, soon as the doctors say it's okay. She burst into tears, relief, joy, everything she'd been holding in. Harlan held her while she sobbed, right there in the middle of the clubhouse with brothers all around. Didn't care who saw, didn't care about anything except this moment. His daughter was in his arms. The kids were safe. They'd won. That afternoon, the story exploded across every news channel. 250 Hells Angels rescue 8 trafficked children. Biker gang hero senator linked to trafficking ring. Underground network exposed children saved. Footage of the raid. Interviews with FBI. Photos of the children being carried to ambulances. Public opinion swung hard and fast. The angels weren't criminals. They were heroes. Protectors. Warriors who'd done what the system couldn't. Harlan watched the cover with Ruby on his lap. She was glued to the screen. "That's you, Daddy. You saved them, yeah. We all did, sweetheart. Whole Brotherhood." But the victory felt incomplete. Something was coming. He could feel it. At 4 p.m., an expensive sedan pulled into the clubhouse parking lot. Robert Walsh stepped out. Lawyer, 50s, cold eyes, expensive suit that probably cost more than Harlan's motorcycle. Agent Kate Morrison was there to meet him. "Walsh, what are you doing here?" "Filing emergency motion regarding Ruby Sullivan's unlawful removal from legal custody." He pulled out papers. Monday morning, 9 a.m., courthouse. Kate's expression hardened. "You can't be serious. After what we just exposed." "I'm completely serious. Ruby is ward of Gerald Sutton. She was removed without authorization. Mr. Brennan is a convicted felon, member of a criminal organization, wholly unsuitable to care for a vulnerable child." Harlan stepped forward. "You work for Garrett, the senator who funded all this. I represent concerned citizens who want proper procedures followed." Walsh handed him the papers. "Monday morning. Bring the child or federal marshals will retrieve her." He got back in his car and left. Ruby had watched from the doorway. Now she ran to Harlan. "What does that mean? Are they taking me away?" "No, baby, but we're going to have to fight. In court." Fear flooded her face. "I don't want to go to court. I don't want to leave you. And you won't. But we need to show the judge that you're safe with me, that this is where you belong." "What if the judge doesn't believe us?" Harlan crouched down, met her eyes. "Then we keep fighting. But Ruby, you're going to have to be brave. Tell them what happened, what Mr. Sutton did. Can you do that?" She searched his face. "If you're there, I can be brave. I'll be there every second." That evening, more news broke. Gerald Sutton arrested. Police raid on his house. What they found made hardened cops sick. Records, detailed logs of abuse, 23 children over 6 years. What he'd done to them, how he'd groomed them, how he'd prepared them for Cross's network. Photographs, videos. Evidence so overwhelming that Sutton's lawyer quit within an hour. Bail denied. Sutton sent to county jail to await trial. Within 24 hours, word spread about what he'd done. Inmates learned he was a child abuser. The guards were slow to respond when he was attacked. Broken ribs, shattered jaw. Nobody felt sorry for him. Saturday evening, Baron Mabel brought Ash to the clubhouse. He'd been released from the hospital into their emergency custody. Clean clothes, fed, still too thin but alive. Ruby saw him and screamed his name. They crashed together in the middle of the room. 2 kids who'd survived hell, holding each other, crying. "You did it," Ash kept saying. "You actually did it. You saved me first. You let them take you so I could run." That's what family does. Harlan watched them. These broken children finding family in each other, finding healing. Bear appeared at his shoulder. "Mabel and I are filing to adopt Ash. Paperwork's already started." "Good. He needs you. And Ruby needs you. You ready for Monday?" "No, but I'll fight anyway." That's all any of us can do. Sunday was quiet, storm before the battle. Harlan kept Ruby close. They didn't talk about court, didn't talk about what might happen. Just spent the day being a family, making pancakes, watching cartoons, normal things that felt precious because they might not last. That afternoon, Rachel Bennett arrived, federal prosecutor, 45, steel spine, 20 years fighting trafficking cases. Justice Department sent her personally. "Mr. Brennan, I'm here to help." They sat in Harlan's cabin, Ruby playing in her room. Rachel laid out the situation. "Walsh represents powerful people. Senator Garrett is panicking. If this case goes forward, he's looking at serious prison time. His strategy is to discredit the rescue, make you look like criminals, make Ruby look like she was kidnapped, not saved. Can he do that? He'll try. The judge assigned to your case is Aaron Blake. He's got a reputation for being fair, but cautious. Is that good or bad? Rachel's expression darkened. I'm not sure yet, but I've been digging into Blake's background. Some things don't add up. Like what? Emergency custody orders. Dozens of them over the past few years. All signed by Blake. All for children who later disappeared. Harlan's blood ran cold. He's one of them. Maybe, I can't prove it yet. But if he is, we're walking into a rigged game. So what do? We fight, with evidence, with truth, and we expose anyone who tries to stop us. She turned to where Ruby had appeared in the doorway. Ruby, honey, tomorrow is going to be hard. People will ask questions about Mr. Sutton, about what happened to you. Can you tell the truth? Ruby looked at Harlan. He nodded. I can tell the truth. Good girl, that's all we need. That night, tucking Ruby into bed, she was quiet, pensive. Daddy? Yeah, sweetheart. What happens if we lose, if the judge says I have to leave? We don't lose. But what if we do? Harlan sat on the edge of her bed. Then we appeal. We fight harder. We keep fighting until we win. What if they take me before we can fight? They won't. I won't let them. You can't promise that. She was right. He couldn't. Not legally, not realistically, but he could promise something else. Ruby, I promise that I will fight for you with everything I have. I promise that I will never stop fighting. I promise that even if they beg you away, I will move heaven and earth to get you back. Because you're my daughter, mine, and nothing changes that. Tears streamed down her face. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl. She fell asleep holding his hand. Harlan sat there in the dark thinking about tomorrow, about facing a judge who might be corrupt, about lawyers who represented monsters, about a system that had failed Ruby from the moment her mother died. His phone buzzed. Text from Blaze. Found something. Blake signed 47 emergency custody orders in past 5 years. 41 of those kids are unaccounted for. Missing, vanished into thin air. Another text. Bank records show deposits to Blake's account. 15,000 monthly. Shell company linked to Garrett's campaign fund. Then he's dirty iron. Judge is dirty. Harlan closed his eyes. They were walking into a rigged courtroom tomorrow. A judge bought and paid for by the same people who trafficked children. He texted back, does Rachel know? Sending her everything now. His phone rang immediately. Rachel. Harlan, I just got Blaze's files. This changes everything. How? If Blake is compromised, I can challenge him in open court. Demand recusal, but it's risky, could backfire, could make things worse. What's the alternative? We go in knowing the game is rigged and try to win anyway. Harlan thought about Ruby sleeping in the next room, about the promise he'd made her. Do whatever gives us the best shot. I don't care about risk. I care about keeping my daughter. Understood. See you in court. He hung up and walked to Ruby's room, stood in the doorway watching her sleep, so small, so trusting, believing he could protect her from anything. He touched his pocket. Her sock doll Hope was there. She'd given it back to him tonight. Keep her with you tomorrow, Daddy. For luck. Luck. They'd need more than luck. They'd need a miracle. At 2 a.m., Harlan gave up trying to sleep, sat on the porch, stared at the stars. His phone rang. Bear. You awake? Yeah. Me too, thinking about tomorrow. Same. Iron, you know we are all coming right. Every brother who can make it. We'll fill that courthouse. Show them you're not alone. Thanks, Bear. That little girl asked you to be her father. That makes her family. And we protect family. Harlan's throat tightened. I know. You're going to win this. You hear me? You're going to win because you have to, because she needs you. What if I don't? What if? Then we fight harder. But Iron, you can't think like that. You go in there tomorrow believing you'll win, believing you'll walk out with your daughter, because belief matters. After Bear hung up, Harlan sat there until dawn, watching the sky lighten, preparing himself for battle. Ruby woke at 6 a.m., climbed into his lap on the porch. Today's the day. Today's the day. I'm scared, Daddy. Me too, sweetheart. Really, you get scared. All the time. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing the hard thing anyway. She leaned against his chest. Okay, then I'll be brave. They dressed carefully, Ruby in the nicest clothes they'd bought her, a blue dress with white flowers, her hair brushed and braided by Mabel, looking like a normal 6-year-old instead of a street kid. Harlan wore his cleanest jeans and a button-down shirt, still looked like a biker. Couldn't hide the tattoos or the scars or the weathered face, but he looked respectable. The courthouse was surrounded when they arrived. Media everywhere, cameras, reporters shouting questions, and motorcycles, dozens of them. Hell's Angels from 3 counties, showing up to support their brother. 47 men in leather cuts, cleaned up, respectful, but present. A wall of solidarity. Inside the courthouse, they gathered in a conference room. Harlan, Ruby, Rachel Bennett, Agent Kate Morrison. Rachel reviewed the strategy one more time. Blake will favor Walsh, we know that, but we present our evidence anyway. Show the court what Ruby went through, what Sutton did, what Cross did. Make it impossible for Blake to rule against us without looking corrupt. And if he does anyway, then I expose him, in open court, with evidence. It's our nuclear option. Use it only if we have to. Kate added, we've got federal prosecutors ready. If this goes sideways, we'll arrest everyone involved, Blake included. Ruby listened quietly, taking it all in. Rachel crouched in front of her. Ruby, honey, are you ready for this? I think so. Remember, just tell the truth. Nobody can argue with the truth. Okay. The bailiff called them in. The courtroom was packed, gallery full, standing room only, 47 Hell's Angels on one side, media and court watchers on the other. Judge Aaron Blake entered, 60, gray hair, cold eyes that swept the room with obvious displeasure. This is a custody hearing, not a circus. I will have order. He looked at his papers. Matter before us is emergency placement of minor child Ruby Mae Sullivan, currently with Marcus Harlan Brennan. He gestured to Walsh. Mr. Walsh, you filed this motion. State your case. Walsh stood, smooth, professional, predator in expensive clothes. Your Honor, this case is straightforward. Ruby Sullivan is ward of Gerald Sutton, legally placed by Child Protective Services. She was removed from Mr. Sutton's home without authorization by members of the Hell's Angels motorcycle gang. Mr. Brennan has extensive criminal record, assault, weapons charges, association with known criminal enterprise. He is wholly unsuitable to care for a vulnerable child. Furthermore, the so-called rescue operation was vigilante action. 250 armed gang members attacked private property. Children were endangered by their recklessness. This was not heroism. This was criminal activity disguised as rescue. We request Ruby be removed immediately and placed in proper protective custody. The gallery erupted, angels shouting objections. Blake's gavel cracked like gunfire. Order, I will have order. Walsh sat down, confident, smug. Rachel stood, calm, powerful. Your Honor, Mr. Walsh is correct about one thing. Ruby deserves better. She deserves better than a system that failed her repeatedly for 3 years. She pulled out documents. Ruby's mother died when she was 3. In 3 years, she was placed in 6 different foster homes. 6. Each placement lasting weeks or months before she was moved again. No stability, no safety, no protection. Her final placement was with Gerald Sutton. Mr. Walsh calls this legal placement. Let me show you what that means. She projected documents. Sutton's records. The courtroom gasped. Gerald Sutton kept detailed logs. 23 children over 6 years. What he did to them, how he groomed them. Ruby was number 24. She was 3 years old when her file was flagged for high-value placement by Vincent Cross. 3 years old, Your Honor. Marked like merchandise, placed with an abuser to break her down. Prepared for trafficking. Walsh objected. This is inflammatory and irrelevant. It's completely relevant. Ruby ran from Sutton's house because she recognized danger. She survived 3 months on the streets because staying in that house was worse. A 6-year-old child chose homelessness over the home the system provided. Rachel turned to Harlan. Mr. Brennan's record is public. Yes, he made mistakes, but his crimes were 15 to 20 years ago. He's been law-abiding since. He's employed, stable, and when a desperate child asked him for help, he said yes. The raid Mr. Walsh calls reckless, it saved 8 children. 8. Children the authorities hadn't saved, hadn't even looked for. She faced Blake. Your Honor, sometimes the law fails. Sometimes good people have to step up. That's what happened here. Blake's expression was unreadable. I want to hear from the child. Ruby, come forward. Ruby walked to the witness stand, so small. The chair was too big for her. Her feet didn't touch the ground. Blake's voice softened slightly. Ruby, do you know why you're here? Yes, sir. People want to decide where I live. That's right. Can you tell me what happened at Mr. Sutton's house? Ruby took a breath, started talking about Sutton's touches, his words, the way he looked at her, the other children who came and went, the sounds at night, the fear that never ended. The courtroom was silent, people crying. Even some of Walsh's team looked uncomfortable. So you ran away? Yes, sir, I had to. And then, I lived behind the diner. Ash taught me how to survive. We were family. Tell me about meeting Mr. Brennan. Ruby's voice strengthened. The van men found me, said they'd be back that night. I was so scared. Wash always said, if bad men came, find the bikers. So I did. What did you say to him? I asked if he could be my father. The courtroom held its breath. Wipe going, because I needed a daddy, and he looked safe. Even though he was big and scary, something inside said he was safe. And what did he say? He said yes. He took me inside. Fed me chocolate milk. I never had chocolate milk before. Tears streamed down her face. He kept every promise. Found Ash. Came back from the fight. He keeps his promises. All of them. Do you want to stay with Mr. Brennan? Yes, sir, please. He's my daddy now. Blake nodded. You can step down. Ruby ran to Harlan. He caught her, held her while she cried. Walsh stood. Your Honor, this is manipulation. The child has been coached. Rachel cut him off. We have Senator Garrett under investigation. We have bank records showing payments to Gerald Sutton. We have evidence of a trafficking network that spans 4 states. She pulled out more documents. And Your Honor, we have something else. Emergency custody orders, 47 of them, signed by you over the past 5 years. 41 of those children are now missing, disappeared into Cross's network. The courtroom exploded. Blake went white. That's slander. Is it? Rachel projected bank records. $15,000 monthly deposits to your account from a shell company linked to Senator Garrett. You enabled this network, you facilitated it, and now you sit in judgment. Security guards were moving. Agent Kate Morrison stood. Judge Aaron Blake, you're under arrest. Chaos erupted. Blake shouting, Garrett trying to leave. Agents blocking exits. Ruby pressed against Harlan, terrified. What's happening? Justice, baby. Justice is happening. The courtroom descended into pandemonium. Media recording everything. The whole world watching a judge get arrested in his own courtroom. And somewhere in that chaos, Harlan held his daughter and thought, we won. We actually won. But the fight wasn't over yet. The courtroom was chaos. Judge Aaron Blake being led away in handcuffs. His face pale, hands trembling. 20 years on the bench ending in the back of a federal vehicle. Senator William Garrett surrounded by agents. Still shouting about rights and lawyers and how this was impossible. Nobody listening. Nobody caring. Robert Walsh, gathering his papers, was shaking hands. Career over. Reputation destroyed. Already calculating which overseas country didn't have extradition treaties. And in the middle of it all, Ruby pressed against Harlan's chest, his arms around her, both of them watching justice unfold in real time. Agent Kate Morrison appeared at their side. You two okay? We're okay, Harlan said. What happens now? Now we clean up. Blake's under arrest. Garrett's going to federal detention. Walsh is next. Everyone connected to this network is going down. What about Ruby? Kate's expression softened. That's why Judge Margaret Sullivan is being brought in. Emergency replacement. She'll rule on the custody issue. Can we trust her? She's got a reputation for being tough but fair. No connections to Garrett or anyone else. She's clean. An hour later, the courtroom had been cleared and reorganized. Media removed. Order restored. A different judge now sitting at the bench. Margaret Sullivan, 62. Silver hair pulled back severe. Sharp eyes that missed nothing. 30 years on the bench. Seen it all. Unimpressed by power or money or intimidation, she reviewed the case files in silence while everyone waited. Read Rachel's evidence. Read Blake's corrupt orders. Read Ruby's testimony transcripts. Finally, she looked up. This court has been compromised. Judge Blake's rulings over the past 5 years are under review. Every case, every order, every decision. Her gaze swept the room, landed on Harlan and Ruby. However, the matter before me now requires immediate resolution. A 6-year-old child's welfare cannot wait for bureaucratic review. She looked at Ruby. Young lady, you've been through quite an ordeal. Ruby nodded, didn't speak. I've read what happened to you, what Mr. Sutton did, what the system failed to prevent. I'm deeply sorry. Thank you, ma'am, Ruby whispered. Sullivan turned to Harlan. Mr. Brennan, you have a criminal record. Assault from 20 years ago, weapons charges, association with a motorcycle club classified as an organized crime group by some jurisdictions. Yes, ma'am. You're also the man who took in a homeless child when she asked for help, who mobilized 250 men to rescue 8 trafficked children, who kept his promises to a little girl who'd been failed by every adult in her life. She paused. That's an interesting contradiction. I'm not perfect, Your Honor, but I'm trying to be the man Ruby believes I am. That's all any of us can do. Sullivan looked at her papers again. Based on the evidence presented, I'm making an immediate ruling on emergency placement. The courtroom held its breath. Ruby Mae Sullivan will remain in the custody of Marcus Harlan Brennan pending formal adoption proceedings. Furthermore, I'm fast-tracking those proceedings given the extraordinary circumstances of this case. Relief flooded through Harlan so intense he felt dizzy. Ruby looked up at him. We won, sweetheart. She buried her face in his chest and started crying. Happy tears this time, the kind that came from 3 years of fear finally ending. Sullivan wasn't finished. Mr. Brennan, you understand what you're taking on. This child has been severely traumatized. She'll need therapy, stability, patience, consistency. Are you prepared for that? Yes, Your Honor. Because if you fail her, if you let her down the way the system has, I will personally ensure you never have another chance at custody of any child. Am I clear? Crystal clear. Sullivan's expression softened almost imperceptibly. Then I wish you both the best. You're going to need it. Gavel down. Dismissed. Outside the courthouse, the scene was jubilation. 47 Hells Angels cheering. Media shouting questions. Cameras recording Ruby in Harlan's arms, both of them crying and laughing simultaneously. Reporters thrust microphones forward. How do you feel? Harlan looked at Ruby, then at the cameras. I feel like the luckiest man alive. This little girl trusted me when she had no reason to trust anyone. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving she was right too. What's next for you? We go home. Be a family. That's all that matters. Ruby waved at the cameras, smiled. America watching fell in love with her in that instant. The brave little girl who'd survived hell and found a father in a biker. The following days were a blur. Senator Garrett arrested, facing 30-plus federal charges. Trafficking, conspiracy, money laundering, corruption. His political career destroyed. His legacy reduced to being the senator who sold children. His lawyer tried to negotiate, offered information, names, connections, anything to reduce his sentence. The prosecutors weren't interested in deals. Vincent Cross faced trial within 6 months. The evidence overwhelming. Bank records, testimonies from 8 rescued children, documents from Sutton's house, Pixel's hacked files showing the entire network. The jury deliberated 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts, multiple life sentences, no possibility of parole. Cross would die in prison. Gerald Sutton never made it to trial. Pled guilty to avoid the death penalty, 40 years minimum. At his age, that was effectively life. In prison, word spread about what he'd done. Child abuser, trafficker, predator. He was attacked 3 times in the first month. Guards were consistently slow to respond. Nobody felt particularly motivated to protect him. Judge Blake disbarred, facing 25 years for corruption, every case he'd presided over for 5 years under review, hundreds of rulings potentially compromised. Robert Walsh under investigation, his law license suspended, facing conspiracy charges, career destroyed, reputation annihilated. The system that had enabled it all is being torn apart and rebuilt. New oversight protocols, better vetting for foster parents, task force dedicated to protecting vulnerable children. The Cedar Falls case becoming catalyst for statewide reform. But Harlan didn't care about any of that. He cared about the little girl learning to trust again in his cabin in the woods. The first week was hard. Ruby had nightmares every night, woke screaming about van men and cages and Mr. Sutton's hands. Harlan would hold her until the shaking stopped, until she remembered she was safe. "Sorry, Daddy, I didn't mean to wake you again. Never apologize for needing me. That's what I'm here for." She ate like she was still starving, hoarding food in her room, hiding snacks under her pillow. Couldn't quite believe the meals would keep coming. Harlan let her, didn't push, just made sure there was always food available. Let her learn at her own pace that she'd never go hungry again. She flinched when he moved too fast, tensed when he raised his voice even slightly. 3 years of survival instincts didn't disappear overnight, so he moved slower, spoke softer, gave her space when she needed it. Let her come to him instead of crowding her. Slowly, day by day, she started to relax. Bear and Mabel were doing the same with Ash. The 10-year-old had his own trauma to work through. 4 years on the streets, 3 days in a cage, memories that would take years to heal. But he had Mabel's warmth and Bear's steady presence, had a room of his own, food, safety, the beginnings of family. Harlan brought Ruby to visit every few days. The two kids needed each other, needed to see that they'd both made it, both found homes. They'd sit together for hours, talking, playing, sometimes just existing in the same space. Proof that they'd survived. "You really got a daddy now," Ash said one afternoon, wonder in his voice. "You got parents too," Ruby pointed out. "Yeah, weird right after so long alone." Good weird or bad weird? Ash thought about it. Good weird. Scary good. Ruby understood. Happiness could be terrifying when you'd never known it could last. 2 weeks after the court hearing, Harlan enrolled Ruby in school. First grade. She'd never attended real school before. The foster homes had moved her too often. The streets had taught her survival, not reading. She was behind, way behind. Couldn't read beyond basic words. Math was foreign. She didn't know colors or shapes or half the things other 6-year-olds knew. But she was smart, hungry to learn, eager to prove herself. Her teacher, Mrs. Patricia Holloway, was 60, veteran educator, seen it all, knew how to handle kids from hard backgrounds. She pulled Harlan aside after the first week. "Ruby's struggling academically, but she's trying harder than any student I've had in 30 years. Give her time. She'll catch up. What can I do to help?" "Read with her every night. Practice letters and numbers. Be patient when she gets frustrated. And Mr. Brennan," Mrs. Holloway smiled, "keep doing whatever you're doing. That little girl worships you. She wants to make you proud." So Harlan read with her every night. Simple books at first. Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham. Stories she could follow. Words she could sound out. She'd curl up against him on the couch, her small voice working through sentences, stopping to ask what words meant, building vocabulary one page at a time. "Daddy, what's magnificent?" Means really, really good, amazing. Like chocolate milk. Exactly like chocolate milk. Some nights she'd fall asleep mid-sentence. Harlan would carry her to bed, tuck her in, watch her sleep, and feel his heart break and heal simultaneously. This was fatherhood, not the dramatic rescues or courtroom battles. This, reading stories, answering questions, being present. Month 2 brought therapy. Dr. Sarah Whitmore, 55, specialist in childhood trauma, 20 years working with abuse survivors. Gentle, patient, skilled at helping kids process what they couldn't articulate. Ruby was resistant at first. "I don't want to talk to a stranger about Mr. Sutton." Dr. Whitmore helps kids who've been through hard things. She can help you with the nightmares. What if she thinks I'm broken? Harlan crouched down. Ruby, you are not broken. You are healing. There's a difference, Obertuo. What if she tries to take me away from you? She won't. She works for us, helps us. But baby, you don't have to go if you really don't want to. Ruby thought about it. Will you come with me? First session, absolutely. After that, it's up to you. The first session was hard. Ruby barely spoke, sat on Harlan's lap and shook. Dr. Whitmore didn't push, just talked about normal things. School, favorite foods, the color of Ruby's room. Building trust before diving into trauma. Second session, Ruby sat on the couch next to Harlan instead of on him. Progress. Third session, she talked about her mother, about finding her, about being 3 years old and not understanding why mama wouldn't wake up. Dr. Whitmore listened, validated, helped Ruby understand it wasn't her fault. By the fourth session, Ruby went in alone, came out red-eyed but calmer. How'd it go? Harlan asked. Hard, but good. Dr. Whitmore says the nightmares will get better if I talk about the scary stuff. She's right. She also says you're doing a really good job being my daddy. Harlan's throat tightened. She said that, said most dads don't learn this fast, but you're a natural. He pulled her into a hug. I'm just trying my best, sweetheart. Your best is really good. Month 3 brought normalcy. Ruby's nightmares decreased from every night to a few times a week. Still there, still intense, but less frequent. She stopped hoarding food, started trusting that meals would keep coming, started eating normal portions instead of as much as she could hold. She made a friend at school. Sophie, 7 years old, lived down the street, invited Ruby to her birthday party. Can I go, Daddy? Please, first birthday party invitation of her life. Of course you can go. They picked out a present together, a stuffed unicorn. Ruby insisted on using her allowance to pay for it, wanted it to be from her. Harlan drove her to the party, watched her walk up to the door clutching the present, looking back at him once for reassurance. He waved. She smiled, went inside. 2 hours later, he picked her up. She was glowing. We had cake and ice cream and played games, and Sophie's mom said I did so good at musical chairs. That's wonderful, baby. Can Sophie come to our house sometime? Absolutely. This was what healing looked like. Birthday parties, friends, normal kid experiences. Month 4 brought a breakthrough. Ruby had been working on a school project. All about my family. Other kids brought in photos, stories, memories. Ruby had none of that. No baby pictures, no family history, just 3 years of foster home she didn't want to remember. She was devastated. Everyone else has stories about their families. I don't have anything. Harlan sat with her at the kitchen table. Ruby want to know a secret. What? Family isn't just about the past. It's about right now, about the people who choose you and who you choose back. But the project says family history. So we'll make new history, starting now. He pulled out his phone. Let's take some pictures. Document our family. You and me. They spent the afternoon taking selfies, Ruby on his shoulders, both of them making silly faces at the park, in the kitchen making cookies, reading on the couch. Ruby made a poster. My family in careful letters at the top. The photos arranged around it. Captions she wrote herself with spelling mistakes Harlan wouldn't correct because they were perfect exactly as they were. This is my daddy. He rescued me. This is us making cooks. This is my favorite place, the park. She brought it to school, presented it with pride, came home beaming. Mrs. Holloway said my family is beautiful. She said love is what makes a family, not blood. Mrs. Holloway is very wise. Month 5 brought change. Harlan formally filed adoption papers. Full legal adoption, making Ruby his daughter not just in heart, but in law. More home studies, more background checks, social workers examining every aspect of his life. They interviewed Ruby separately, asked if she felt safe, if she wanted this, if she understood what adoption meant. Ruby looked at them like they were idiots. Of course I want it. He's my daddy. I want it to be official. What if things get hard? What if you fight sometimes? Then we'll fix it. That's what families do. They don't give up on each other. The social worker wrote her report. Positive, glowing, recommended approval without reservation. Mr. Brennan has created a stable, loving home. Ruby is thriving. Her nightmares have decreased. Her academic performance is improving. She has friends. She's happy. This is exactly what adoption should look like. The court date was set 6 months from the original custody hearing. December. Ruby counted down the days. Month 6 arrived faster than Harlan expected. Ruby was 7 now. Birthday had come and gone, with a party that included Sophie and 3 other school friends. First real birthday party she'd ever had. She'd cried when Harlan brought out the cake with 7 candles. Happy tears. The kind that came from wishes finally coming true. Now December morning they prepared for court. Different from last time. This wasn't a battle. This was a celebration. Ruby wore a new dress, white with blue flowers. Her hair had grown out. Long strawberry blonde curls that Mabel had helped style. She looked healthy, normal. A far cry from the skeletal street kid who'd appeared in the rain 6 months ago. The courthouse was packed again, but different crowd this time. Supporters, friends, family. 47 Hells Angels in the gallery. Clean shirts, respectful, there to witness one of their own become a father. Bear and Mabel with Ash. Their adoption had finalized last month. Ash officially their son now. Agent Kate Morrison, Rachel Bennett, Dr. Whitmore, Mrs. Holloway, Sophie's parents, the community that had formed around Ruby. Judge Margaret Sullivan presided again. Looked at the packed courtroom with something that might have been approval. Well, this is much better than last time. Scattered laughter, the tension from 6 months ago replaced with anticipation. Mr. Brennan, in the past 6 months, you have completed every requirement set before you. Home studies, parenting classes, background checks. You've exceeded every expectation. The reports I've received describe you as a devoted, attentive, loving father. Ruby's therapist, teacher, social workers all paint the same picture. A man who stepped up when a child needed him, who learned, who grew, who became exactly what Ruby needed him to be. She looked at Ruby. And you, young lady, you've blossomed. Your teacher tells me you're reading at grade level now, making friends, participating in class. I'm very proud of you. Ruby beamed. So, Sullivan picked up her pen. It is the judgment of this court that the petition for adoption is hereby granted. From this moment forward, Ruby Mae Sullivan is legally Ruby Mae Brennan, daughter of Marcus Harlan Brennan, with all the rights, privileges, and protections that entails. Gavel down. The courtroom erupted. Ruby screamed, launched herself at Harlan. He caught her midair, spun her around. I'm really your daughter now. Really, really. You always were, baby. Now the paper just makes it official. Ruby Mae Brennan, that's my name, my real name. Around them, Hell's Angels were cheering, some crying, Hammer wiping his eyes with the back of his massive hand, Wrench openly sobbing. Ash ran up, joined the hug. We're both official now. Both got families. Real families, Ruby agreed. Forever families. Bear clapped Harlan's shoulder, hard. Proud of you, brother. So damn proud. Mabel was crying, happy tears. That little girl has a father now, a real father. After everything she went through, she gets you. The celebration moved to the clubhouse. Food, music, joy. Someone had made a cake. Pink frosting. Ruby Brennan in huge letters. Ruby stared at it. That's my name. Really my name now. Really your name. She traced the letters with her finger. I'm Ruby Mae Brennan, daughter of Harlan Brennan. That's right. She threw her arms around him for the 100th time that day. Best day of my whole life, Daddy. Mine too, sweetheart. Mine too. The party lasted until late. Ruby danced with Ash, ate 3 pieces of cake, told everyone who would listen that she had a daddy now, official and everything. When they finally left, she fell asleep in the truck, exhausted, happy, home. Harlan carried her inside, tucked her into bed. She barely woke. Love you, Daddy. Love you too, baby girl. He sat on the edge of her bed, watching her sleep. His daughter. legally, permanently, forever. 6 months ago, she'd been a terrified street kid asking a stranger to be her father. Now she was Ruby Mae Brennan, his daughter, safe, loved, home. The next morning, Ruby woke him early. "Daddy, it's Sunday." "I know, sweetheart. Can we go to the park, our park?" Their Sunday tradition. Started 6 months ago, continued every week, rain or shine. "Of course we can." They drove to the park, same one where everything began, where Ruby had asked him to be her father in the rain. The bench was still there, weathered wood, overlooking the playground. They sat together. Ruby curled against his side. "Daddy, yeah. Tell me the story again, about the day we met." He'd told this story dozens of times. Ruby never tired of hearing it. "Well, it was raining, hard rain. I was about to go into the clubhouse when I heard a voice." "My voice," Ruby interjected, "your voice," and I turned around and there you were. This tiny, brave girl, standing in the rain, asking a stranger the biggest question in the world. "Can you be my father?" "That's right." And my heart just stopped, because I'd never been asked anything like that before. Never thought I'd be a father. "Were you scared?" "Terrified. I didn't know if I could do it, if I could be what you needed. But you said yes anyway." "But I said yes anyway, because something inside me knew you were supposed to be mine." Ruby snuggled closer. "I'm glad I was brave enough to ask." "Me too, baby. Me too." They sat in comfortable silence, watching other families arrive, kids running to the playground, parents chasing after them. Normal Sunday morning in the park. "Daddy, yeah, I want to help other kids, kids like me and Ash, kids who don't have families." Harlan looked down at her, 7 years old, already thinking about helping others. "That's a beautiful idea, sweetheart. Maybe when I'm bigger, I can work with kids in foster care. Tell them it gets better. Tell them about you and how you saved me. You saved me too, you know." "Really? Really, I was so lonely after Sarah died, so lost. And then you showed up and gave me a reason to live again. You saved me just as much as I saved you." Ruby thought about this. "So we saved each other." "Exactly." His phone rang. Bear. "Iron, we got a situation. Street kid in the ER, 9 years old, no family, asking for help." Harlan felt something shift. Full circle. He looked at Ruby. She was watching him, understanding in her eyes beyond her years. "What do you think, kiddo? Should we help?" Ruby's face lit up. "Always help. That's what family does." "That's my girl." To Bear, "We're coming." They drove to the hospital together. Ruby quiet, thoughtful, processing. "Daddy, if we help this kid, does that mean I might get a brother or sister?" "Maybe, if they need us, if it's right. Would that be okay with you?" Ruby considered carefully. "Will you still have time for me? Will you still be my daddy?" "Always, forever. Nothing changes that. My heart's big enough for you and whoever else needs us." "Then yes, it's okay. Everyone deserves a family like ours." At the hospital, they found Bear in the waiting room. With him a boy, 9 years old, dirty, scared, defensive. He looked up when Harlan and Ruby approached, eyes calculating, survival mode. Ruby stepped forward. "Hi, I'm Ruby. What's your name?" The boy hesitated. "Dylan." "I was homeless too, living behind a diner. But then I found him." She pointed at Harlan. "He became my daddy. He can help you too if you want." Dylan looked at Harlan, sizing him up, reading threat levels. "You really help kids." "Yeah, son, I really do." "Why, bye," Harlan crouched down. "Because a little girl taught me that everyone deserves someone who won't give up on them. And I figure if I can help one kid, maybe I can help more." Dylan's defensive posture softened slightly. "What if I'm too much trouble?" Ruby answered before Harlan could. "Then they help you anyway. That's what real families do. They don't quit." Something in Dylan's face cracked. The first hint of hope. "Can I think about it?" "Take all the time you need," Harlan said. "We're not going anywhere." Over the next weeks, Dylan visited their house. Wary, cautious, testing boundaries. Ruby showed him her room, her toys, her drawings on the refrigerator. Proof that this was real, that it lasted. "See, he keeps his promises." If he says you can stay, you can stay. Dylan slowly started to believe. Christmas came. First real Christmas Ruby had ever had. Tree, presents, stockings with her name embroidered on them. Dylan was there, staying in the guest room, still not ready to commit, still watching, waiting for the catch. Ruby gave him a present, wrapped it herself, inside a photo of all three of them. Ruby, Harlan, Dylan, taken 2 weeks ago. This is us, our family. If you want it. Dylan stared at the photo, started crying. I want it. And just like that, Harlan's family grew again. 1 year after Ruby appeared in the rain, Harlan's cabin held 2 children. Ruby 7, Dylan 9, both adopted, both healing, both learning what family meant. The house was louder, messier, full of laughter and arguments and the beautiful chaos of children growing up safe. Ruby thrived in school, reading above grade level now, making straight A's in math. Her teachers said she was remarkable. Dylan struggled more. 4 years on the streets left deeper scars, but he was trying, seeing a therapist, catching up academically, learning to trust. And Harlan learned to be a father to 2 very different kids with very different needs. Ruby needed reassurance, constant affirmation that he wasn't leaving, that she was enough. Dylan needed space, room to be angry, permission to push back and discover that Harlan would still be there when the anger passed. He gave them both what they needed, learned, adapted, grew. Bear often said, "You went from lonely biker to father of 2 in 12 months. That's got to be some kind of record." Best record I'll ever set. One evening, tucking Ruby into bed, she asked, "Daddy, do you ever wish things were different, like quieter, easier?" Not for a second. Really, really, you and Dylan are the best things that ever happened to me. My life was empty before you. Now it's full, loud and messy and full. I'm glad I asked you to be my daddy that day. Me too, baby, me too. She fell asleep smiling. Harlan walked to Dylan's room. The boy was still awake, reading. One of the few activities that calmed him. Lights out soon, bud. Harlan, can I ask you something? Anything. Why'd you take me in? You already had Ruby. You didn't need another kid. Harlan sat on the edge of Dylan's bed. You're right, I didn't need another kid. But you needed a home, and I have one, so it made sense. That's simple. That's simple. Ruby taught me that love doesn't divide. It multiplies. I don't love her less because I love you too. I love you both. Completely. Dylan was quiet. Then, thanks, Dad. First time he had said it. Harlan's eyes burned. You're welcome, son. 2 years after Ruby appeared in the rain, Harlan stood in his backyard, watching Ruby and Dylan play. Ruby now 8, Dylan 11, both laughing, both healthy, both his. Bear appeared beside him. You did good, brother. They did good, I just showed up. You did more than show up. You changed your whole life for them. They changed mine first. Mabel and Ash arrived for Sunday dinner. Their weekly tradition now. 2 families who'd been built from broken pieces. Ash and Dylan played basketball. Ruby helped Mabel make dessert. Normal, domestic, beautiful. Over dinner, the kids talked about school, friends, normal problems that had nothing to do with survival. Tommy said his dad works on motorcycles. I said mine does too, but also leads a whole chapter of Hell's Angels. He didn't believe me. Well, it's true, Harlan said. I know. I brought pictures for show and tell. After dinner, Harlan found Ruby on the porch, looking at the stars. What are you thinking about, sweetheart? How different things are now. 2 years ago, I was so scared, so alone. And now I'm here, safe, with you and Dylan and our whole family. You're not scared anymore. Sometimes a little. But then I remember you keep your promises. And I'm not scared anymore. She leaned against him. Thank you for saying yes that day. Thank you for asking. They sat together under the stars. Father and daughter, found family, proof that broken things could be fixed, that love could heal, that sometimes the families we choose are stronger than the ones we're born into. Inside, Dylan was helping Mabel with dishes. Ash was showing Bear something on his phone. Laughter and voices and the warm sound of family. Harlan looked at Ruby. You know what? I used to think my life was over when Sarah died. Thought I'd just exist until I didn't. But you showed me different. Showed me life could start again. Better than before. Different, but better. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl. The years passed. Ruby grew. Dylan grew. Both graduated high school. Both went to college. Ruby studied social work. I want to help kids like me. Kids in the system who need someone to believe in them. Dylan became a teacher. I want to give kids what you gave me. Stability, belief, second chances. Both came home for Sunday dinners. Both brought their own families eventually. Ruby married, had children of her own, named her firstborn Sarah after the grandmother she'd never met. Dylan married his high school sweetheart. Two kids, both adopted from foster care, continuing the cycle. And Harlan, now in his 70s, sat on his porch watching his grandchildren play. Four of them, all carrying pieces of the legacy Ruby had started. Grandpa, tell us the story again. Which story and about Grandma Ruby, how she asked you to be her daddy. So he told it, again, like he'd told it hundreds of times. Well, it was raining, hard rain, and I heard a small voice. Ruby sat beside him, 50 years old now, gray threading through her strawberry blonde hair, successful social worker, mother, grandmother herself. Still gets me every time, she said when he finished. Me too. You know, you saved my life that day. You saved mine first. They sat together, father and daughter, watching the next generation play, proof that love multiplied, that families could be built from broken pieces, that sometimes the bravest thing was asking for help. And somewhere in heaven, Sarah and Claire looked down and smiled, their love continuing through the lives it had touched, through the families it had built, through the children who'd been saved because one little girl was brave enough to ask, and one lonely biker was brave enough to say yes. The story of Ruby and Harlan became legend in Cedar Falls. The little girl who asked a stranger to be her father. The biker who said yes. The family built from courage and promise. People asked Harlan sometimes, "Do you ever regret it?" Taking her in. He'd look at them like they were crazy. Regret the best decision I ever made. Regret getting to be Ruby's father ever. Not for a second. Because that's what love was, not the dramatic rescues or the courtroom battles, but the quiet moments, the Sunday dinners, the bedtime stories, the promises kept. That's what family was. Not blood, but choice showing up, being present, loving through the hard parts. Ruby taught him that. A 6-year-old street kid standing in the rain, asking the biggest question, trusting a stranger with her heart. And that stranger became her father, her protector, her home, just like she'd known he would, just like she'd prayed he would, just like he'd promised he would. Because that's what fathers do. They keep their promises, always.